let's jump into page 10, section 2. We touched on it a little bit, and we switched from the E, I, O, U sounds using English letters so we could understand, and I'll make one last example of last week. Here's the example. Am I stepping too much out of the... Okay, here's the example. We had the mem, or an M. So we had a me, me, ma, or this. Then we have mo with one dot. Or we had a mo with the vowel. That's a cholam. That's cholam with vav. How do I know that's an O sound? Because the dot is over the vav.
Oh.
So it's an O. Or we have the last one, someone already mentioned, it's a mu or mu this way. The dot in the vowel, not over the vowel. Got it? Clear? We did it in English. Now we're doing it with Hebrew. So here's your second letter of the Hebrew language. And there is your, at the A sounds, using the letter bet in Hebrew. We switched away from English. I think English helps to understand what those sounds mean when you stick them under the letters or over the letters. Using English got you to understand what it's about. What do those vowels do? Well, here we're now going to be using those vowels in Hebrew letters. So instead of an X, I use the letter bet. You see 3 examples under the A. On the left it says E, I, O, U. Over to the very right it has the Hebrew letter bet. There you have the first one with the sagol, the 3 dots like bowling ball dots. That's a bat, like bat. And there's the example. Next to it in the center box. You see? A as in bat. The next one is A as in bait. Okay? And the last one is a short shava. Bet. I bet you. I bet you're going to read Hebrew in 5 classes. I bet you. I don't bait you that, you know, I'll bait you $10. I mean, what is that? You'll confuse people. The word is not bat, it's bait. So that's a tseire. What sound does a tseire make? Bay, 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 bay. The last one is e, as an egg. It's not an egg, it's not an egg. Those are the first 2 examples. It's an egg, so it's very short. If you do not use the shava at all, you still have to do one of the how many responsibilities in reading Hebrew words under every letter of each word? 2 responsibilities. There's a whole page on it. I'll touch on it real briefly. In Hebrew, reading a word in Hebrew, you have 2 responsibilities as a student new to Hebrew. 2 responsibilities when you're ready to pronounce the Hebrew letter in the word. Okay? So, the first responsibility is to recognize what is that consonant? What is that letter? Is it an E? Is it a Bet? Is it a Gimel? Is it a Dalet? Which one is it? And I'm hoping that all of you, if not all, then most of you, are learning to read the Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Tzadik, Pei, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Taf. So, how do I ask you to learn them real well? Learn that one long word. Abba Gada, Hevza Cheti, Kalma Nessa, Patska Reshet. You learn that word, you'll know the alphabet. So I'm hoping you're learning the word. And if not, it's okay. I don't need for you to know that word. That's a learning aid for you. I already know it. I don't care if you know that word. I'm just saying, know that word. It'll help you to learn the alphabet. Otherwise, I don't care if you know that word, but I do care that you know the alphabet. Now, I'll do the alphabet on the board because a little bit today we'll touch on actually how to write them. And there's some trickery that I use. I use a box and show you how all the letters can look alike, be the same size, even though a Yud is tiny and a Lamed is gigantic. It's like a giraffe. So you have a tiny little letter and then a huge letter. So how do you make them fit when you make them nice on a line? I'll show you that today. It's very simple. Okay. So back to this example with the Nikud, with the Hebrew letters. We're done with the A sound. We have A, and Bet. So with the letters on the side, it's Ba, Bay, and Bet. So I have a bat, I went fishing and I had some bait, and I will bet you that I'll catch fish next time. Okay, so we have ba, bait, and bet. And that's how you do them. The next is the E sound. Well, you have two bets there. One is a bet with a dot in it and a dot below it. You will see that 99% of the time when you have the E sound in any word, you'll see the chirik and the yud in the same position as you see it here. 90% of the time. Occasionally, there will be no yud, but if it has a chirik on the first letter, what is one of the second responsibilities? It's still the E sound, with a yud or without. A chirik tells you that letter is the E sound. What's the example? In the bet, here's the bet, with the dot. So that's the B sound. That is to be pronounced B. Without a dot, what is it?
V.
V. Okay, here it is without a dot, V. But occasionally you'll see it by itself like this. But most times when there is a chirik, there'll also be a silent yud. Why am I saying silent? Because if this yud had something beneath it, it's no longer a vowel. When you put a nikud below a letter, that's the sound that you want to pronounce that letter. The nikud tells you how to pronounce the next letter. If you have no vowelage here, then you know that's silent, but we know it's a V sound. I'll leave the dot. So now it's a B sound, right? This is the B sound. Without a yud, it's still a B sound. Without a chirik, this way is still a B sound. So it could be just a chirik, it could be just a yud, and most times it'll be both. Okay? Now, I will fill in, make the words longer, maybe towards the end of the hour or the next time. But then you will definitely see it. I don't want to go there now because I don't want to confuse my issue that I'm going with. Okay? So there is the E sound. Two ways to do it. Yud and a chirik, or just a chirik, or just a yud. That's just automatic. The next sound is the A, which the yi part we don't use in the I. So the A sound, we have two, kamatz and patach. What sound does a kamatz make or a patach? Obviously A. Easy. We're done with that. Next is the O, like orange. We could do it with just a chidi, it's a cholam or a cholam with vav. When you see a vav with a dot on top of it, it's no longer the letter vav. It is now a vowel. It's the O sound of vowel. So a vav that has something below it, is it a vowel or is it a letter?
It's a letter.
It's a letter, because we gave it a sound. If it's silent, then there's no sound. Then there's no nikud. Kind of simple. Okay? And the last one is kind of similar to the O. It's the U, same deal. You have it by itself without a letter, the next vowel. Or you have the bet with the vav and the dot in it. What is that vav and the dot in it? Is that a vav or a vowel? It's a vowel because it tells us to pronounce the bet as boo. Now here's a stumper. I call this a stumper. I'll try to stump you. How do you pronounce this word? Who's who? Get an A for the day. Isn't that simple? E. Two responsibilities. On this right here, we have two responsibilities. Here we also will have two responsibilities. Here we also have two responsibilities. And here's also two responsibilities. Now please don't copy this. I have the copyright on it. This is a perfect art. Picasso once called me to teach him how to do these. Okay? So now here, let's dissect this. Two responsibilities on the first part. The first responsibility is what? Recognizing that. What is that? It's a oo. We don't know if it's a, e, o, u. The first responsibility is that we know it's a sound, right? But we gave it a sound. What is that? That is our second responsibility. First is to recognize the letter. Second is recognizing how to pronounce that letter that you just recognized. So we have responsibility one, e, that's e. It's not a bet. It's not a gimel, or it would be gi, or b, or mi, or li, but it's not. It's an aleph. So it's an e with the two responsibilities. The next letter is a yud. Is there anything below the yud?
No.
So what is that yud? A letter or a vowel?
It's a vowel.
It's a vowel. So we're done. We already made the e sound. So the e is encompassing the chirik and the yud. We're done with the yud. We're done with a second responsibility. Here we only have one responsibility. To recognize that it's the mouth is supposed to use, so it's e. But because it's silent, because it has no other signets underneath it to tell us what sound to make, we leave it alone. It's already done. It's the e sound for the other e sound on the aleph, but it's not e. There's only one aleph. So it's e. So we're done with the second letter. Next responsibility, how many on the third? How many? Here there's only one, to recognize what sound does this letter make. We know it's a letter, it's not a vowel, because it doesn't have a dot in it under it. Or below it. So it's a vav. So we have e, v, and what is this? It's a u. How many responsibilities? Recognizing the letter and recognizing the sound. So this vav is a vav. This sound, this second signal here is a vowel that tells us it's the u sound for this vav. Just like this is the e sound for this aleph. That clear? So Ivu is right. That's a double A for today. Yes, sir.
It seems kind of longhand to me. Why can't you just write the left with the dot beneath it and the last character with the dot to the left?
Okay, talk me through it. Put this down here.
A left with the dot underneath it, yes.
Okay, aleph.
It's an E.
Not, hold on.
Yeah.
My ear, it hurts me. It's not aleph. It's aleph.
Thank you.
I'll go through the letters
Left.
so you get the pronunciation right. You can pronounce it aleph, doesn't matter. But my job is to kind of correct you, and then after that, you decide which way you want
I
to say it.
appreciate that.
So it is aleph. The syllables in Hebrew language are always in the beginning. It's aleph. Okay? So beneath the aleph, what goes? You want the chirik?
Yes, please.
Your question is, why don't we do it this way, right? I'm going with you.
Right there is the E sound.
Correct.
So the next modifier is moot, it seems to me.
I didn't make the language.
So why the extra effort? It's like long.
You know what? Talk to him. When you get the answer, let me know. Because I've tried. I never get the
But
answer.
then it seems the last two characters are redundant as well.
Okay, let me go to English. What's the GH in knife? I'm sorry, in night. Why not just say night?
Exactly.
Okay.
Spell it N-I-T-E.
Do you do anything about in the English language when you have this redundant G's and K's and knife and all? What do you do about
I
it?
always write night N-I-T-E.
She gets a double A, you get a triple F. Only kidding. You make a good point. But again, I'll repeat what I said before, maybe for the last time, I hope. This class is not about knowing how to spell. It is about knowing how to recognize what's there. You can argue with it, but go to him of why is it that way. This class is not about the whys, it's about how to read. That's how they have it, that's how I'm reading it, and that's what I want you to do. That's how you read it. We'll go about the why they did this and that, maybe on the 9th or 10th lesson.
What does the word?
But good point, I don't mean to belittle you, I mean, it's a good point.
What does the word mean?
Which?
The,
This word?
yeah.
It's an exercise, there's no
Oh,
word.
okay. It's not.
We're not doing words yet.
Okay.
We'll get there, but the
I was
third or
just
fourth
curious.
lesson, we'll do letters. Okay, clear on that? Okay, any other questions before I get going? All right, beautiful, I love those questions. All righty, so on page 10, We have the E, I, O, U, which English vowels make Hebrew sounds. So we have the ba, be, be, ba, bo, and boo. Any questions on that box and those sounds? Awesome. Let's go on. So I'm going over to page 11. I love this page. This is where it's the only little bit that I do in this class about writing rather than reading. Because it's frustrating to learn to read when you haven't learned how to do them yet, even though it's not a difficult thing to learn these. But please, learn your alphabets. If you want, I have pages that I have printed years ago with the alphabet on little card size. You can color them, cut them out, laminate them, and make yourself some cards. I know in college I could not have done it without little cards that I had with me, and every time I was either waiting on a bus or waiting my turn to use the phone in the dorm I was at, there was always a line to use the phone. I had these little cards and I'd go, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. I'd learn it that way with my little cards. If you want them, I'll bring in the sheets. It means you go to a printer or do it at home on cardstock or pages and, print them down, color them, make them pretty. The name is already on there. All you do is maybe laminate them or make them on cardstock, whatever. If you want them, I'll bring them in.
Okay.
All right. I want you to watch how I do, because for simplicity's sake, I'll tell you that to write the Hebrew letters that we do, which are not the script ones. We're not learning script. You'll learn this on your own after you know the print. Okay, so in print, which we call handwriting, they're mostly square, and they're 99% of the time, they start at the top. It's like a circle. When you write a Hebrew letter, any Hebrew letter, it's this way. It starts up here, goes this way, then here, then back up. The next letter starts up here, this way, then down, then again. The next letter, so you'll notice as I do them, that they start like, it's a big circle, they start from right, and it goes to the right, etc. Aleph. So what I do is this. I draw up two lines. Do you all see my perfect square lines? You want to pass this course? Say, wow, those are so perfect. Perfect two lines. Okay. My next color I choose is blue, and these are the boxes. It's a little juvenile, but it works, and I won't do it for the entire alphabet. I'll do it for some, but I think you'll get the point. It's worth doing. It came to me kind of like it came to me because without this, it leaves some unknown areas in your mind, but this kind of helped me. I found this when actually someone suggested it to me in class years and years ago, and it works, and I'm under the philosophy of if it works, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay? That's when I lived in Georgia, I learned two things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if the creeks don't rise and the rain don't come, or something like that. All right. Aleph starts at the top, goes all the way to the corner. Bet, Aleph, okay? The next arm does not, it goes from the top and down, below the center. Then the next line is, again, from top to bottom, above the center. Okay? Now, in different books, you'll see many different fonts. I'll give you an example of 3 off the top of my head, but there are like 25 different fonts. Aleph can be that way, can be this way. Can you see the similarity? Okay. I've seen them this way. I've seen alephs this way. Okay? Once you know the alphabet, and once you know how to construct them, have at it. Pick your own style. Make them curvy, make them roundy, make them pointy. Doesn't matter. As long as I use the simple up and down straight lines. But it doesn't mean you can't be creative, just like in English, okay? Okay, so there's your aleph. Bet, again, it's from top and then down. And then a line at the bottom, I call it a floor. And the floor goes beyond the line a little bit. You see that? In Hebrew, it's called kots. There's no O-W sound, so it's not a kots. It's kots, which means thorn. This is called a kots, it's a thorn. It is extremely important to recognize it when you're reading it in a book. It'll be very subtle, you can miss it if you're not trained to find it and see it automatically. Why am I saying it's important? Because there's another letter in Hebrew that looks like this, without a thorn. Are they similar?
Yes.
They're called look-alike. Am I okay right here?
We need to switch off. Switch.
All right, we're switching. So, do you see
Wait, don't.
Good?
Good?
Good? Good to go?
This one. Sorry.
Good to go?
Yeah, I know we get a little back.
Need for me to talk louder?
No, you gotta switch back here.
Just
We'll
change
all
the
work out.
battery.
Pardon?
The battery.
Change the battery.
Yeah, just a second. This is a new battery.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Anybody want a Haman's ear? Got plenty over here. Got some napkins too.
Is that better?
Enjoy, enjoy.
Yeah, it's better, yeah.
Okay.
We're good?
Yeah.
We're going?
Thank you.
Say go.
Go.
Okay. All right. So you see the difference? Here there's a kots. The letter kaf. Sorry. The letter kaf or chaf without the dot. Everybody do that homework? You go back to the house and go for 20 minutes? No? You all fail.
Yeah.
Okay. The kaf does not have a kots. So recognize that there is a kots. So there we have the bet. The next is gimel. Gimel is tiny at the ceiling. It's straight down. And then from the center, another leg, but make the leg be not further on the floor than the ceiling part. Don't make a gimel like this. Also, don't make a gimel like this. The gimel goes like this. It's a vav. You'll notice most Hebrew letters are made up of other letters. You'll notice that. For example, the gimel starts out as a vav, right? Then in the center, which is right here, the middle between here and here, you come down with the leg, but not further than the length of the ceiling part. You got the point?
Yes.
Okay. The next is a dalet. Again, a dalet from top over, and then there's a line going down. But the dalet line goes down just about where the vav ceiling would be any other time. Okay? So here's your vav. There's a vav backwards, so that's a dalet. Please don't make the dalet like this, like a T. Unless you want to. That's okay. Because if you put a T when you write a Hebrew letter, and you have a T there, instead of one little bit to the right, there's no other letter like it, so chances are we'll know that you mean a dalet. But do it over to the side, near the right side, not in the center. There's the dalet. Again, from top and then down. The next letter is a resh. A resh. But because we're doing a head, not a resh, we have to come down again from the center down. Okay? Don't make your haze like this. This opening here has to be a substantial, wide opening.
Or it looks like
Otherwise, it can be construed and mistaken for the letter chet, which is like this. The chet does touch at the ceiling and does have a kots. The hay does not. It has a resh and the line there. The next is the vav. We already know the vav. Here's the vav. Okay? The next is similar, other than some little differences. It's on an angle, not straight, angle, and then down with a little tango, give it a little, if it's straight, it's okay too. But if you can, give it a little zing, make it dance a little. Zayin. The next letter is chet. Chet is a cross. It starts out being a resh. Okay? So we have a resh, but it's not a resh. It's a chet. Chet comes straight down, but make sure that it has a kotz at the top. Do not, please, do not make your chet with the kotz going this way. It's not. It's not a kotz going up. It's a kotz going sideways. Got it? Chet. The next letter is tet. It's an upside down chet, and the tet is the only letter in Hebrew that has the kotz going into itself. Do not make your tet like this. It is inside, okay? It's upside down U with a little kotz going in. Got it? The next is a yud, and the yud is little. So if you have the box, imaginary box. You don't see boxes here. They're just an aid. The yud just takes out this much room of the box. Okay? Yud, as I said before, the smallest letter, but the most important. Okay? Yud. Next we have is some other letters. If I can... any questions so far while you're ace? Oh, good. Silence, huh?
I have one.
You must be doing right.
You got a question back here, sir.
What's the, what are they refer to as a jot or a tittle?
That, since the vowels that we're talking about, this nikud came out around the 3rd century. It was not available in the very beginnings. Rabbis had a big problem teaching. It's hard to teach when there are no vowels to tell you how to pronounce. So when it became known that more and more of the populace in the land, in the land of Canaan at that time, the population was beginning to really want to learn more from Torah. And the way the Jews taught was that a rabbi or a rabbi's assistant, who also had to be a rabbi, or a scribe, and scribes must be rabbis before they become scribes. So a rabbi or an assistant rabbi or a scribe could teach, and the only thing they had was a Torah. It was the only written thing that they had their hands on in their language. They weren't going to go to the Romans and learn that stuff. They weren't going to go to the pagans and learn their sketches and chiselings on the walls of caves. So, they knew Hebrew. So the way to teach it was to use Hebrew, and the only thing they had in Hebrew were scrolls, the Torah. So the rabbi would sit at a table, kind of like, here's the table of the rabbi. He would sit here at the table. He would have his scroll open to the section that he wanted to teach from, and he had students all around his table. Okay? This is a time where I have to tell you a true story. Okay? A true story is this. When I first arrived in America, I heard about the subway, and on my 3rd day, I went on the subway. And not to my surprise, it was loaded like sardine cans, but they had these funny things hanging from these rods. And I saw people hanging on to them, so I grabbed one, and I'm standing hoping that each time the train stops, somebody will get off and give me a seat. But it didn't happen, and I'm going, and it's crowded. And a corner of my eye, I see 2, 3 seats further from me sitting, which obviously was a Jewish dati, which means, you know, they had the peyot. We'll go over that later, explain them. You know, the hair in a temple not to be shaven, you know, according to the biblical Jewish law. So they had the curlies, they had the black hat, they had the black tie, they had the white shirt, they had black suit, and he's reading, and he had the Yiddish newspaper. This is when the Yiddish newspaper in New York was still going. It just stopped after 200 years, 3 years ago. The paper went out of business, closed up. But this was in, you know, earlier, and so I'm noticing, I'm saying, why is he holding that Yiddish newspaper sideways, like this? He was holding the newspaper. At first, I thought that he was a CIA, dressed as a rabbi, to be incognito. But let's say this is a newspaper. I'm seeing him reading a newspaper like this. Every once in a while, he'd go, you know, then he would be reading. And then every time the train stopped, he'd look up and look out the window and then get back down to his paper. I couldn't stand it anymore. There became a seat open next to him, and I sat down. Now, you know, those people, they don't touch you, they don't talk to you, ever. You'll never get them to shake your hand. Women, forget it. They'll walk away. Okay? But the tenacious little Jew boy that I was at the time, I sat next to him, and I'm starting to talk to him in English. And one time, he looked at me and nodded to whatever I was saying. He just went and kept going. So I said, he's reading a Yiddish newspaper. Why don't I ask him in Yiddish? So I asked him in Yiddish, why, how is it that you're reading it? He said, du willst sprechen in Yiddish? Ja, ich kann sprechen Yiddish. Sehr gut, ja, guten Nachten, Lukten, Hunderei. I said, oh yeah, why? So I switched back to English, and he goes, I don't want to talk in English. I said, how about Hebrew? Oh, Hebrew, yeah! He was elated. So now we're talking in Hebrew. So I said to him in Hebrew, and we were having a conversation. Are you incognito? Are you hiding? What? You know, you have your paper sideways. He goes, well, that's how I learn. So here's a story. He came from Poland. He ran away. He made it out of the Holocaust. He didn't get caught in the Holocaust. His family did, but he didn't. And when he was little, he was learning in the cheder with the rabbi at that table with students all around. And his position at the table was over here. And so when you got 10 kids around the rabbi, some of them read it upside down because that's the position they were in. He was saying, look here, you see the aleph bet? Well, the kids who are backwards, who are looking at it upside down, they learned that the aleph is like, you know, upside down. But they could read it because they put it in the position that they learned. Funny story? All right, I'm not going to make any more lines and squares. But you got the point about how to make them even by having an imaginary square as you make them. Because if you learn them without, you probably will do what I've seen people do when I got papers back for homework. I'll get you in a second. They would write a letter like Abba would be A, Ba, Abba. Okay? That's not, ooh. Ooh. Abba is like this. A, Ba. Are they like almost the same size? So imagine writing a whole line, a whole line this way. It would be like, okay, not working. So that's why I created this little. I'm sorry, I didn't. I got this from someone else. They gave me the idea. Little squares, and then you design them in the squares. So we don't need the squares anymore. We're at the letter Yud. So now we're at the letter. Where are we? Yud. Kaf. We have room for a kaf. This is the one that looks like a bed, but does not have a kotz over here. Oops. Okay? No kotz on kaf. Alright? Kaf. Next is lamed. Lamed, I will make 2 lines because I have to illustrate something. I might as well make 2 lines then if I'm already doing it. Are these perfectly beautiful?
Yes.
Yes.
Who said yes?
Yes.
Okay, Kaf, Lamed. Lamed is the only Hebrew letter that goes outside the box to the top, halfway down, and then halfway like that. Now, here are variations. Pick them. I don't care. First learn them right, and then create others. I've seen Lameds like this. See the similarity?
Mhm.
Okay, I've seen lameds like this,
Looks like a 5 without a tail.
okay? And I've seen lameds like this. So pick whatever you like, but first learn them the right way. When you get great at the right way, create your own, okay? So we have lamed. Next is mem. Mem, I do like this. But the variations from mem is, one way is this way. There's another one that's like this, like an igloo. Create your own, doesn't matter. That's the mem. Next is nun. Very little at the top, all the way down, and the same distance at the bottom. That's your nun. Not to be confused with a kaf. Kaf, nun. I see similarity, but size is different, right? Be careful to make the kaf large and the nun small. But still in the box. There's no box here, but if there was, the box here would be like this. So you see how small amount of the box is being used? I know it's picayune and kind of juvenile. Believe me, it's very important. Okay, so that's nun. Then we have another one that you have to be careful with, and that's a samech. Straight at the top, and then curvy, 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 and a kotz at the top. Okay? So have at least 2 straight lines, and then do curvy at the rest. That's a samech. Kotz at the top left, very important. Why? Because there's another letter. The mem here has a final form, which is kind of a look-alike. It's called the mem sofit, final form. So when you write ima, the mem is in the middle, it'll be like this. But if you write mam, which is m, then m is written this way, right? A, fe, be, re, me, aim, and here is a mem, but why does this mem look like that and not like this? Why? Who said because it's at the end of the word? Another double A, you're racking up. Okay?
Good, yeah.
Okay? So a mem is not a samech. Samech has curves, a mem is a box with a kotz at the top left. Mem, okay, samech. Mem, nun, samech. Next is ayin. Ayin and tzadik have been a thorn in my guts. Because everyone, did I say everyone? Everyone in all my classes has a confusion about the tzaddik and the ayin. And I will dispel it right now. I wish I had an automatic board that I could just look at and it would erase. So as soon as you invent one, let me know, we can get in business. Okay, where was I? Lamed, mem, nun, samech, ayin. Ayin is straight down and straight across. First. Then we put a line on its lap. There's an ayin. Now, there's another letter that confuses people with the ayin, and that's the tzaddik. Tzaddik starts out as an arrow, not as a box. Tzaddik, ayin. Tzaddik has this line here on its back. The ayin has this line here on its lap. These three right here are what we are known as lookalikes. They are trouble. They are trouble. So learn them. Okay? So ayin. Next is pei. First a resh, then a kaf. Starts out with a kaf. And what is this letter? Yud. We put an upside down yud in the inside of a kaf, makes it a pei. Do you see a kaf and a yud upside down in the ceiling hanging down? You all see that? Remember, these are good little tricks on how to make the letters. Okay? Pei. However, it is a pay with a dot. Without a dot, the sound is F, fe. We don't have a letter in Hebrew called fe. There's no such letter as fe. Okay? But we have a way to pronounce the sound fe. We don't have a letter, but we have a sound. How do we do that sound? We remove the dagesh out of the pay. That makes it F sound. So we have pay, fe. Okay? Without the dot. But since we're not using nikud on any of them, I'll remove the nikud from the pay. Whether it's a pay with the dot or a fe without the dot, the letter's name is still pay, even though you may pronounce it as an F. Okay? Pay. Alrighty. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin. Not Zayn. That was an author, Zane Grey. This is Zayin, not Zayn. Okay? Zayin. Chet. For those who did the homework at home, it's a chet, not a het. We don't have a hat. Chet, tet, yud, kaf, lamed, mem, nun, samech, ayin, pei, tzadik. Tzadik. Oops, even I get confused. Not often, but okay. Tzadik starts out as an arrow. Okay, see that? And then this line from the ayin goes on its back. Tzadik. Tzadik and pei are both letters that do have final forms. They look different when they're at the end of a Hebrew word. They're still the same sound, and their name is still the same, with the addition that we put final on the name of the letter. So this is a tzadik.
What means at the end of the letter? Or
The end of the word. Sorry, my error. My bad. We do Hebonics in this class. We have Hebonics. Okay? Tzadik. The tzadik and the pei are both Sofit letters. I don't want to put them all down, but these are important. The pei Sofit, the final form. So if you have the word af, it's an aleph and a fe, but it's in a final form, it's at the end of the word. So a fe at the end of a word takes this bottom floor and brings it down. So it looks like this. Okay? You see the top here is the same, but this line does not break. It goes straight down below my two perfectly aligned lines. Got it? The tzaddik the same. This section right here, this little V, is a final form. So you make the little V and then come down. This Y, the English letter Y, is a final form of tzaddik. Do you see this section right here? It's the same as this section right here. Okay? A little help. So we have a pei sofi, in this case pronounced as a pei. I will put the dot in just so that we know that when you do a final form gets their dageshes, the dots, the same as any other letter. And if they need vowelage below, it's the same as any other letter. So if you want to make here the sound pa, you would give it an ah sound or an ah sound. Okay? Or any of the a, e, a, o, u sounds. You put them down on the bottom just like on any other letter when you write the word. Clear? Okay. Tzadik. Tzadik. Kuf. Kuf is the next word. Starts out with a resh. I like to give it a little curve here. And then this is from the center of this line here, below the line. It's the only letter that has a line go below, has this this vav, let's say, below the line, and it's not a final form. Kuf is the only one that goes below the lines and is not a final form. The same with the lamed. It's the only one that goes above the line, but is not a final form. Got it? Kuf. The next is resh. That's the resh. Now look at how many letters I'll start out with a resh. Bet starts out with a resh, right? Hey starts out with a resh, right?
Right.
Chet starts out with a resh, right? Kaf starts out with a resh, right? Did I say start out with a resh enough times?
Yes.
Okay, resh. Next letter, also very important letter, starts out like a tet, right? Here's your tet with the inside cuts. Starts out like a tet, but instead of a little line, it gets another finger in the center. Okay? So it's sheen, not shen, not this. Okay? Not shin, it's sheen, like Martin Sheen.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a sheen, S-H-E-E-N, not S-H-I-N. Sheen, or seen, depending on the dagesh. On the right side at the top, it's a sheen, and a sheen with a dot on the left is pronounced seen, but what's the letter name?
What's the one?
What's the name of the letter?
She.
The name of the letter is sheen, even though the dot is on the left, making the sheen be pronounced seen, like an S. Got it? That's what the dots do. They change the sound of the letter. But they're not nikud. These are dageshes. Okay, so you got sheen, and the last but not least, the taf. Starts out with a resh, then becomes a chet, and then has a kotz on the bottom, not top, but bottom left. Okay? That's it. 22 letters. Now, there are about 30 sounds that the 22 letters make. Okay? By the nikud, and the dots, and the dageshes. Got the idea?
Say the word now with the letters all up there. The word you gave us.
Ah, ba, ga. You want to put the nikud in? Let's do that. Let's put the nikud in. Let's put the nikud in red. Ah, ba, ga, da, hey, v, za, che, ti, ka, le, ma, ne, sa. Silent letter sometimes. So it's sa, kalma ne sa. You don't hear the ayin, but we see it. It is silent letter. Unless we give it a sound. But the song is kalma ne sa. Pa, ts, ka, re, she, nothing. T. The taf at the end does not have anything. We still have one of the two responsibilities, and that is to pronounce the sound that the letter makes without nikud. The taf just makes t. So it's aba, gada, hevza, cheti, kalma, nesa, patska, re, she, t. No nikud under the t. Whoever invented that song, that sound. Okay? Got it? It's in your book. I don't know what page. Aba, gada, hevza, cheti, kalma, nesa, pats, ka, re, she, t. Aba, gada, hevza, cheti, kalma, nesa, pats, ka, re, she. Got it?
Do that one more time.
Aba, gada, hevza, cheti, kalma, nesa, patska, re, she, t.
I'm following on page 12, and the letters here, and your letters are so much easier to see because these have all the extra squigglies. Where's your tet up there? Or you say-
The letter tet,
Yeah, because here it's so squiggly. And how did you make yours?
Yes.
Yours is so much easier to understand.
the tet is, look at the top, aleph, bet, vet.
Well, I see it, but how did you do it?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
How did you do it? Where's yours up there?
Tet,
Yeah. Where's yours? Okay. And then they're out, the
Ayin,
their ayin, they had it go downward and you had yours going.
yeah, it's in a little downcline.
Yeah,
It's okay, it's a font issue,
doesn't matter.
okay? Look at the fonts here, where you're looking at the top, and then look at the fonts on the Abagada word. If you look at each letter, they're different, but they're so similar that you know what they are. Correct? Look at the Hebrew letters here, and how they're similar to these letters, but they are different. They're two different fonts. Does that help? Any other questions?
That one looks like a.
Does that help? Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, on page 11, you have the same thing as we did here on the board, and it's for you to practice, and it gives you some little tidbits. Okay? The bullet number 1 says the letter Aleph is only pronounced with a vowel. Okay? Like, what's the example? Here's the example. Here's the Ima. Okay, so we have E, there's a vowel. Here's Ma. And here's a silent Aleph. Okay? Now, let's say, for explanation purposes, we do give this Aleph here a sound so it's not silent. Because right now, this Aleph in Ima is like Sarah. You hear the H? We don't. It's Sarah. We know there's an H. My daughter's name is Sarah, but I didn't put the H. My reason was because my son, who was born first, his name was Adam, 4 letters. And so we went with Sarah, 4 letters. God forgive me and has to help me if I gave my daughter 5 letters and my son only 4 letters. It'll be a feud until today. And they're both in their late 30s with grandchildren. Okay, so Ima. So if I want to give this a sound, this is a silent letter right now. And let's extend it a little, make it right. Okay, if we give this guy a sound, obviously it will not be silent, right? So let's give it one like this. So how do you read that word now?
Emma.
Haven't heard it yet. How do you pronounce this word? Let's do it with the 2 responsibilities on each letter. How many responsibilities here?
2.
What's the first one?
Letter.
Recognize the letter. What sound does this letter make? Okay? It's a sound, right? But in this case it's E. Why? We give it an E sound. So E under an Aleph is E, not A. Correct?
Correct.
What about this? How many responsibilities? Dos. What's the first one? What's the letter? M. That's our first responsibility. Recognize the mem as a m. But what is that? Mem, mi, ma, mo, mu. Which one? Ah, right? Okay, what's this letter? First responsibilities. What's this do? Makes this what? So what's the word? No, not ama. What is this? Ma, a. Got it? You have to do both responsibilities, not just know them. First one is an Aleph. What is that? Is it A, E, I, O, U? It's A. So A under an Aleph is A. What is a A under a Mem? Ma. Not Mu. That's not a U. It's a A. How about, what is this now? What's this word? Ima'u. Let's do it again. 2 responsibilities. E. Ma. What's here? What's that? U. So we have Ima'u. Right? That's how simple it is. Know the letter and know the vowel. You're reading Hebrew. That's really how simple it is. These are our jot and tittles, and those are our vowels, and those are our guide of pronunciation. When you know the alphabet and this guide of pronunciation, you know how to read every word in the Bible. You won't know what they mean. Okay? That's next class. That's next 8-week course. Okay? So this one is learn how to do it. Then we're going to do it. Okay? Any questions so far on all this?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
In the previous example, the second on left,
Here?
the one on
Here?
the left, yes,
Here? Okay?
when,
Aleph.
I'm sorry, when,
That's two now.
no,
One more.
one more strike.
Okay.
When it was being pronounced as an
Okay, let's do it all over so I'm not confused.
yeah,
You want this to be E?
E, ma,
Ah?
yes. My thinking is, since I'm already making the sound with the second consonant, E, ma, that I don't have to repeat it and say E, ma,
Well, here you have to repeat it because it's there. And this class is about recognizing and pronouncing what you see. So what do you see here?
Ima.
Then that's what it is. You can't say, that says E-ma, but I'm just going to say E-ma.
So you can't just hold it and say E, ma.
You can. Now you can hold it all you want. That's E-ma.
Yeah, I get it.
How long do you want it to be?
I
Got it?
yeah. So,
I'm hoping that I'm answering you.
I'm looking for a rule here, I guess.
Don't!
Okay.
They're already here. You just learn to recognize them. Don't make new rules. You're not that good yet. Learn it better than me, then you can start making rules. Got it? That'll be around the 6th or 7th lesson. Got it? Got it? Is that answer?
I think so.
Okay. One thing with you is it's good. What I'm going to say now is a good thing, not a bad thing. One thing with you is your curiosity supersedes actually what we're trying to learn here. You're like, your brain wants to go ahead,
Yeah.
but you got to know this first, then you go ahead. So right now, recognize what you see. Don't try to philosophize about it.
Okay.
How's my time?
Have about a half hour left.
Okay, half hour is great. We'll learn a lot. All right, any questions on what we learned so far? I think I'm going to leave that up here for now, for notes or whatever you want. Now, even though there are 22 consonants, 22 letters, there are many, many more sounds that we create with geshes and jot and tittles and nikud and nikudot and nikudim and any other pronunciations you want to use for the vernaculars of how to do it, okay? Now, let me touch a little bit on the variations of the 22 consonants, okay? There's nothing to know about the aleph. There is about the bet, because the bet, we have two options, two possibilities with the letter bet. We can make the letter bet sound like a V, even though it's a bet. We can make it sound vet by removing the dot. So that's a variation, correct? We know that. Not on the gimel, not on the dalet, not on the hey, vav, zayin, not on the chet, tet, not on the yud. There is one on the kaf. There is a final form. The kaf has two new things that we're adding beyond knowing what the kaf sound is. A kaf with a dot, or chaf without a dot. When you remove the dot, you're changing the sound of the kaf when it's in a letter. Because even though you're changing the kaf to a chaf, the name of the letter is still kaf. It's a kaf without a dot, pronounced chaf. Second variation that the kaf chaf have is that they are also a final form letter. The final form is like this. The bottom floor flips this way. So this bottom was actually here, but we took it away from here and moved it down so it's long. So it goes below the line, right? So instead of being this way, that's a kaf, we make it go down. So we have the dot issue also. The dot issue in a kaf sofit or any other sofit letter are the same as the non-sofit letters. The nikud still goes below or in or over as you write them. Okay? Okay? So the kaf has a sofit letter which could be with a dot or without. The other sofit letter that we've discussed is the mem. The mem has only one variation, and that's a sofit with a kotz on the top left. It is square, no circular lines on it, because then it would become a samech. Samech is not a final form letter. It's the S as in a shin without a dot on the left, with a dot on the left. So a sin and a samech have the same pronunciation. Sin, samech. Sin, samech. Right to left. Okay? The next one is the nun. The nun has a sofit, and that's going down just like the kaf. Instead of a floor, remove it and come down below the line. If you need nikud, it gets nikud. Whatever nikud you want to put in it. Make sure the top is real short and not like a kaf sofit. Got it? Very important. Okay? So that's a nun. And we have samech, ayin, pei. Pei has a final form, which we already did. Just go straight down. It may have a dot or may not, and it could have a u or any other nikud beneath it. The next one that's sofit is the tzadik. We touch base on that, and that's straight down. Right? Nikud, the same way. If it needs dots below it, that's fine. Put them in. If this word ends with a tzei, then and there's many more, but I didn't want to inundate the book. I only took 1 or 2 or 3. Sometimes it has 20 different meanings. That the rabbis, the big Rashis, all those big guys said, "Now that's gonna be a picture of a Volkswagen. Let's call that they made their own things up." I'm sure they had reasons. All right, word pictures, we got tent and floor plan. And then names and meanings, family, house, God's dwelling place. God's dwelling place is kind of important. Not only are we God's dwelling place, every one of you is God's dwelling place. If you want Him to, if you let Him, if you ask Him, and He accepts it, then when He's in you, you are God's dwelling place. As well as physical dwelling places elsewhere. There's one anomaly in America that first bothered me, but I asked the Lord to diminish my argumentative feelings that I've always had as a tenacious little Jew boy from Jerusalem, Israel. So I stopped doing it, but here in America you have a lot of churches that are called Bethel.
Bethel, yeah.
Forgive me, God. There is no such thing as Bethel, other than in English that they call the house of God Bethel, which is a bad translation from Hebrew to English, because it's not Bethel in Hebrew. Those are English words. Bethel is not Hebrew. Hebrew is Beit El. Okay, here is Bethel in real Hebrew. I don't mean to belittle Bethel. I used to go to a church called Bethel, which is a great church actually. To this day it's a great church, and I do visit them. I have family members that go to Bethel in Tampa, and they've heard my dissertation about it so many times that they finally told me when I start talking about it, I go, "Whoa, stop, we don't want to hear it." Okay, Bethel in Hebrew is Beit El, which means house of the Lord. El. Beit is Be. Who could guess what's under it for Beit?
2 dots.
This way? This way.
Long ways.
Good. Snake eyes.
Snake eyes.
Be. Be. We went through that. That's silent. That's still Be without this. But correct spelling puts this in. And then we have a Taf. That's Beit. And this is El. 2 words. There's Beit El. House of the Lord. Beit El. But in America, They say Bethel. That's fine. It doesn't matter how you say it, it's what it is. Okay? So there we have Beit. So that's why it means house of. So Bayit is house. House of is Beit. So it's Beit El, house of the Lord, or Beit Knesset, which is a synagogue, or Beit Cholim, which is house of the sick, hospital. You got 6 minutes? Okay, got it? So Bayit is house, and Beit is house of something. House of the Lord, church, house of school, Beit Sefer, house of the sick, Beit Cholim, etc., etc. It's Beit. Beit is house of whatever you put next to it. That's what's going to be the house of whatever. Okay? Beit. Beiti means my house. Beita means her house. Beitam means their house. Beitenu means our house. It goes on and on. And that's what you will learn once you know how to read, so I can present it to you. Right now, you don't know diddly. But you will know a lot of diddlies by the time we're done here. Okay? All right. Okay, we did that. So then, also, if you notice in the exercise section, I showed the bet with the dot, and I showed a bet without a dot. How juvenile. If you go on the bet with the dot and go ba ba, be ba, bet bo bo, then why do I need to pronounce it again as va va, ve ve vo vo? Why? Because repetition will stick it in your mind. If I don't do this, you won't read. But I want you to read, so I want you to see it. So not only are you hearing it, you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're writing it, you're talking it, and then you'll just talk my head off. Because that's what happens once you know how. You'll come to me with all kinds of stuff. And I'll be here to help you. Okay? All right. You know what? Since it's coming to the end, I don't want to continue with any more. I think we're pretty much in the end. We've got to kind of close off. All right. So thank you very much. Do your homework. Let me say one quick thing about the homework. I don't care which homework you do. I don't care if you do homework from lesson 5, which we haven't even got near. So I don't care what homework you do. Just do homework of some kind. See you next week. Shalom.